Today we're making postage stamp portraits.
Hi, welcome back. Miss Brown here, coming to you from my studio in Brooklyn. Today's project is going to be a postage stamp portrait. For this project, you're going to need to locate either a well-known woman in history or man in history, your choice. I'm going to be doing Frida Kahlo for the example, and then we're going to go ahead and design a portrait that's a head, neck, and shoulders of our person as a postage stamp. I'm going to link a postage stamp template below that you'll be able to draw directly onto, and we're going to be working in black and white line drawing. So you're going to need to want to have two different sizes of Sharpie marker or Crayola thin and thick. Try to have two sizes for this project so that you can vary the different lines that you are going to use in your portrait. I'm also going to link below a sheet on practicing the different facial features and going over the proportions of the face so you can review that before you do this lesson. I'm looking very forward to seeing all of your portraits, so let's get started.
The supplies you will need are a pencil and eraser, pencil sharpener, 2 black markers, 1 thin and 1 thick, the printed border or a white piece of paper, size 8.5 by 11, and a photo of your famous person.
Okay, so I'm set up with my postage stamp printout. Remember, you can also use plain paper and draw your own border, but we want to make sure we're holding our paper vertically. I also have my picture of Frida Kahlo printed out, which I'll put in the split screen for you to see, but I can also look at it on a computer screen. That's completely up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with the oval shape of my face. So I want to put my portrait in first before I put in any of the other details. You may have noticed on the list that we're also going to be including the word forever, which is the postage in the United States, and the word USA. So I have both of those in the finish, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Frida's face. And remember, you can also trace your own face with your finger to get an idea of the shape, and you want to start out very lightly. So I'm even going to hold my pencil on the side. And it's a little challenging on camera to show pencil perfectly. I'll do the best I can. So I'm going to start out with the oval for her head shape. Okay, it's very sketchy. Now remember to look at your person. I'm noticing that her forehead is actually quite square. So I might go back and look at that. Now, this would be the point where I would go ahead and I would put the neck in next. Remember, you can also take your hand and go down the side of your face by your neck to help you get that proportion correct. Remember, we don't want any bobbleheads. So you want to make sure that the neck is thick enough to hold up the size of the head that you have. Okay, so at this point, better turn Frida around. At this point, if you prefer to put in a vertical and a horizontal cross mark, you can. I'm going to put it in very lightly, so I don't have to do a ton of erasing. But again, this is also on the sheet in the previous slide. So that's going to help you find the center point of your head and also give you a place for the middle of the nose. You can more easily put in your eyes. I like to start with the colored part of the eye first, which is the iris. I know it looks kind of strange. And then I'm noticing Frida has very deep set eyes. It helps if you get a forward facing picture. I highly recommend that you do that. Otherwise, it's challenging to change the picture. If it's 3/4, which is when someone's sort of looking sort of in the front and to the side, or a profile view where they're looking directly to the side. So we want to go with the forward facing view. A lot of postage stamp examples though actually are profile. When I was searching for them, I happened to notice there's a lot of profile. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in the base of the nose, and I can always adjust this. Remember with the nose, if you start with that circle in the center,
and then do the 2 semicircles. But you really have to look at your person, right? Because everybody's nose is individual. So while we can teach you tricks and tips, in order for it to be more personalized, that's why it's good to look at your reference. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and continue filling in the pencil line drawing, and then we will go ahead on to the other 2 things, the forever and the USA. Okay, so I finished drawing in her facial features, and now I'm going to look at her clothing. And Frida happens to wear like a lot of decorative clothing. You have to do what works for your person, whoever it is that you're drawing, depending on the time period that they're from. That will determine the way that you draw the clothing. So I'm just going to sort of look at this, but I'm also going to work from my imagination, because I want to make it my own original design. So she's wearing a big chunky necklace in this, but I'm gonna just make it look like the necklace is down below, because remember, I'm only showing the head, neck, shoulders. I don't really have enough room for all of her clothing to be in there, but I can certainly include some of this. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go back, make sure all my lines are accurate the way that I want them before I add in the USA and the forever. Focus. So I have my USA. Now I have to put in the word forever. And I think for this version, I'm gonna go in the upper left corner. And I'm actually gonna have it go behind her whole head. So I'm just gonna sketch this out kind of larger. Now it's okay if some of the words, as long as you can still see that it's forever. My V would have to go a little bit lower. So you could design it so that it goes behind the person's head. Kind of a neat option. Or you could do it like I did on the first one and have it so that it's fully legible and it doesn't go in with the drawing at all. So there's a couple of different options on that. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit because I think these letters are a little bit too low. So you can play around with this. You could use a ruler if you need to. Her flower headpiece is so big. So I could just even take and measure with my Frida and I can see, ooh, that comes way lower than this one. I kind of went up with my letters. So I can just adjust my drawing here. Let's use that E as in. Okay, that looks a little bit more accurate. So it's fun to see two different versions of how you can incorporate the text. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this Sharpied up and we'll be right back. Okay, so I cleaned up my lines a little bit. I'm ready to start Sharpieing. You can use black Sharpie or you can use black marker. It's up to you. We're not gonna be coloring this with any other materials. So if you have just a black Crayola marker, just try to get two sizes if you can, so that you can vary your lines. Obviously, I don't want like a really, really dark line for certain areas. I'm going to start out though with my larger Sharpie, and I'm gonna put in the main lines first, which I'm gonna trace first her head shape. Obviously, if you needed to adjust and pencil it all, you would wanna do that before this, because once your marker lines are down, they are permanent. Okay, So I have the main head shape in. Then I'm gonna think about what other areas I might want really dark. I think her hair, the outside shape of her hair is another place. And I'm thinking this part, it's part of her part. Remember when we're working in collage, we think about things in terms of shapes, but right now we're thinking about things in sort of more in terms of lines. And this is a good chance to also show the texture of your person's hair. If the person has curly hair, if they have straight hair, showing that texture using different lines. So I'm just gonna put the flowers in also with the dark. Try not to get too far in there. Anything else with the dark marker? Maybe I didn't do this on the first one, but maybe the parts of her shirt here. She has a detail on her shirt. Okay, so I think those are all the areas that I want to do dark. Now I'm going to go ahead in with the thin Sharpie, and I'm just going to use this for the facial features. The thin Sharpie also gives me quite a bit of control. Take your time with this. Remember, it's okay if you go outside of the pencil lines because you're going to be erasing them at the end. And I would suggest that if you had put in the cross line that you erase it prior to doing your Sharpie. It's just, oh, I see I missed a line over here on her ear. I can always go back. And you can also add things when you're sharpening. Sometimes I see like, oh, I want to add a pattern somewhere. Maybe I want to add more swirls in her hair than I originally did with the pencil. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this on a time lapse, and I'll see you back here for the finish. So I've finished filling in all of my lines, and now I'm going to go back and look for any areas that I want to actually shade in a full solid color. And I think the word forever and USA, I do want to bold them in. So I'm just going to go ahead in with the dark Sharpie. And you could also certainly do that. For example, maybe I want her shirt. We just would like a majority to be just lines. Obviously the face, the pupils you can fill in. If you wanted to add some texture to the lips, I would suggest doing that with the thinner marker. So I'm gonna go ahead, finish this up, and then we will have our portrait completed. So the final step before I'm completely done and ready to photograph this next week is to clean up all of my pencil marks. I'm noticing. And then you can notice if you need to just clean up any edges. It's a good time to do it. Be careful not to get your paper folded. And if you don't have a big eraser, then just do what's necessary with a pencil eraser. I haven't had a big eraser for quite a bit. I finally found one hiding in a little pouch that I'd forgotten I had. All right, I think my second version of Frida is complete. And you can go ahead and see the two different examples that I did, one with the outline and no solid areas, and then this one has more solid areas, so you can do either type that you like.
I sure hope you had a really great time designing a portrait postage stamp today. I can't wait to see what you did. And if you want, you can go ahead and color this. We're keeping it black and white for the video, but it's up to you. You could always add color in after it's done. That's totally fine. I hope to see you back here again soon for more art lessons. Thanks so much.